Hi guys, and welcome to this DVD, which is going to be a national squad Kumite Curriculum. Put together a Kumite Curriculum because what happens you'll find is over the course of a year training a national squad, week after week you'll learn different drills, Kumite techniques, and what you'll find come tournament time, students tend to execute the techniques they've been working on most recently at class. So you work on lunge reverse as an example, people work on that for a month, and then they go in the tournament, you see lunge reverse, lunge reverse, lunge reverse. You think, okay, everyone's good at the lunge reverse, let's introduce them to a new technique, but at the next tournament, rather than seeing lunge reverse and the new technique, you tend to just see the new technique come out. So students tend to execute and deliver and focus on whatever they're currently working on in class, and the goal is to always add to our repertoire, not to replace our repertoire. So having a Kumite curriculum gives students a number of things that they can work on throughout the year, but while they may focus on one or two things over the course of a month of class, they're always aware of the fact that they're trying to build on other techniques and build up a big wide arsenal of techniques so that in any tournament they can bring out anything that they need that's required. Anyway, I've rambled on too much, so let's get started. First part of the Kumite curriculum is we're going to work on our defense, and it obviously starts with a quality guard. Your guard in your Kumite comes from your Sanshin, which is the start of Sansaru, Shisoshin, Seizan, where we see students focusing on these techniques here. The principles of this are the principles that we use for our Kumite guard. Now, Sanshin itself is a grappling, is a metaphor, so anytime I'm in Sanshin and you see me in this situation, it's generally related to grappling or being in grabbing range with an opponent. So if I grab Sensei Ashley for a moment, Sensei Ashley grabs on, then boom, I've got my overhand, my overhooks. So he grabs on, and I'm coming up here, I can strike, I can do numerous things from this position. I grab him, he can do the same thing, overhooks. In other words, Sanshin with our grappling range, you've got an opponent who's grabbing on, you've got using the first technique of Sanshin, he's getting overhooks. The fact that his arm's out on an outward angle, means it's harder for me to get to strike, but at the same time he's got many weapons at his disposal that he can use. If he grabs onto me, I've got the same thing, the same principle of overhooks. Striking, and my opponent grabs on and my opponent is close by, I can be coming up underneath, pulling in this way. From here I can have an overhook and an underhook. So the idea of grabbing, which is a pull-in motion, where you often see people have a bit of a pull-in motion towards the end of a Sanshin technique, is the idea of a pulling in. Again, it's a metaphor for pulling someone in closer. So again, my opponent is coming towards me, and I've got one underhook and one overhook from here. So again, I've got striking, I can change to my sumo stance for throws. So again, Sanshin by nature is a close quarter grappling technique, grappling stance. The principles, however, of Sanshin can also be applied to distance Kumite, striking range, kicking range, etc. So one of the principles we learn, you may not be able to see my feet right now, that's okay. One of the principles we learn with Sanshin is that we only ever work one side of our body. So for example, I'm here, this arm comes back. The moment I get to here, this complete hemisphere of my body locks up completely. You shouldn't see any movement with any part of my body over this side. Everything locks up to this side, this hemisphere, and this hemisphere, the other hemisphere pulls back, strikes, and back. So that principle is again applied to our Kumite. So once you become an advanced karateka, you should be understanding that when you strike with one hemisphere, the other hemisphere doesn't move. I can be reverse punching here, I can be lunge punching here, but the other hemisphere remains locked in, exactly like our Sanshin. Okay. The same applies to my blocking. You see a lot of students when they block, they always want to retract one hand, they want to retract one hand. Same thing as Sanshin. If I block with one arm, the other arm remains still. Obviously, occasionally we've got double arms working, but by and large, we're understanding that we've got control over our body, that if one arm moves, the other arm does not have to move. So from here, Kumite-wise, I can be blocking one arm, striking one arm. Okay, another principle of Sanshin that we're going to work on is the positioning of our arms. When we're in Sanshin, the elbow is in tight, and it's covering our floating ribs, which are vulnerable areas of the body. So elbows are not here. You see a lot of people here in Sanshin, rather than pulling in, protecting the floating ribs. The same thing applies for Kumite stance. People in Kumite stance, they have their elbows out like this. leaving vulnerable areas exposed. So we take the idea of keeping our elbows in from Sanshin, and we use the same thing for our Kumite, where we keep our elbows in during Kumite. At a relaxed distance, you may be with your opponent, you're a nice relaxed distance, you can have your elbows out, a bit more relaxed. As the distance closes, the elbows come in. So we're always ready to protect. The other thing you'll notice with our Sanshin is that our elbows are in front of either hip. So they're about a fist distance in front of left and right hip. So again, the same thing applies for Kumite. We're here, we drop our leg back for Kumite, but the same thing applies. Obviously our opponent here, we're not here because our opponent is here. But the left elbow is in front of the left hip, elbow in, and the right elbow is in front of the right hip, elbow in. So at any time during Kumite, if you were to step up to Sanshin, you're only ever a hand twist away from being in Sanshin. So Kumite, Dame, to Sanshin, rather than this, which is nowhere near Sanshin. So I can be nice and relaxed in my Kumite, stepping up, just a hand twist away. So I'm taking the principles of elbows in, elbows in front of either hip, not here. We don't do this in Sanshin, we do this. So we don't do this in Kumite, we do this, elbows in front of the body. Sanshin, hands are not here, they're about a 90-degree angle. Same thing for Kumite. Our hands are about a right angle, about a 90-degree angle. You see a lot of old karateka, old school karateka, spar like this. Okay, it's not really traditional karate. It's old school sort of Kumite from Japan, but it's not necessarily traditional karate. And in modern day point fighting, it's almost considered arrogant, because if my hand's back here, this hand is able to block, but this hand is not able to do anything bar strike. So if my opponent is quick, they fake me out, I fall for their fake, suddenly they come over the top, this hand is going to be too slow to bring me back into the game. Vice versa, someone grabs my front hand guard, strikes, they grab my guard, this hand once again is going to be too slow to get to the party to bring me back into the game. Now having my hands up here, someone can fake me out, this hand is still in the game. Someone can take my hand away, this hand is still in the game. So I've always got one hand that's still in the game. If I have to do multiple blocks, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, verse 1, and I'm out of the game. So same thing for striking. I can still strike from here. I don't have to block and pull this hand back. I can strike directly from guard, strike directly from guard. Okay, another principle of Sanshin is our muscle tension. When we're in Sanshin, we don't have relaxed core, we don't have our butt out, we don't have loose legs. Sanshin, we focus on a strong core, and especially through here. All our leg muscles are tense, but especially through here. So the power comes from our core and working inwards this way. Even in Heikadachi, our power comes from our core and the muscles in here. So when we do Heikadachi, when we do striking, we should be focusing on strengthening through here. So the same applies for Kumite. I can be nice and relaxed in my hands, but the abs, the core is always tense. And when I strike, I'm focusing once again on the power coming through here. Boom, working through here. These are the muscles where we derive power from. So whether it's kata, whether it's kumite, the same thing. And last but not least, our Sanshin, we're gripped to the floor. We're strong. I'm not sure if you can see my feet right now. We're strong to the floor. Even when we're moving, we're strong to the floor. Kumite, you may be light at distance, but once again, once you get close, you become strong and you become grounded. You shouldn't see people get hit, knocked out of balance or anything like this. You should be nice and grounded and strong to the floor. So that's where our fighting stance comes from, making sure we're taking the elements and the principles of Sanshin, elbows in front of the hips, arms at about a right 90-degree angle, core tense, power coming through here, feet strong to the ground, and you're on your way.